friends, Brittany Richmond here with another Sunday Short. Today we're going to talk about a couple of different things. The first thing we're going to talk about is your pre-event meeting and how critical that is. And let me tell you why. I had a pre-event meeting just the other day for a gig that's coming up at a school. So I don't typically do schools, but typically when I have conferences and things, they have a lot of things already set up. They have the logistics around PowerPoints and clickers and all these things. The school that I'm working with has none of that. So I had on my list this year to get my own clicker, to get my own HDMI adapter, to get all the things. And to be honest, the fact that it took me this long is kind of shocking that I just didn't do it. But this is why pre-event meetings are so critical, because I find out what they have, what I need. And typically every single time, other than this one, everyone's been like, I have a clicker, we have all the things. And I like to send them my presentations if I have them, so they can pull them up in advance and have the ability to check and make sure there's no issues, right? Plus, I use the presentation option through Canva, and it's a link, and all they need is, they don't even need a Canva account to pull it up as long as I share it with them, and then it will play like a PowerPoint on any option there. So I highly recommend using Canva. It's amazing and awesome. So I had my pre-event meeting, and they said to me, they're like, we don't have an ability to project a PowerPoint. And I said, well, the talk works without it. Remember I told you before, like, if your talk doesn't work without your PowerPoint, then you're doing it wrong. Not necessarily you're doing it wrong, okay? It just means you rely too heavily on the slides. Slides should be there to like emphasize what you're doing, maybe show a picture, close a loop. And mine are very much visuals because I work with students. So I like to provide the information, but also have a visual so they can close that loop mentally. So I said, the presentation definitely works without it. So I'm not super concerned about that. And then she comes back to me a couple moments later and said, we do have the ability to do a PowerPoint, bring your computer. So I sent her the Canva link, and I'm like, if you have a computer already on site, this would be super beneficial because then you can just pull it up. It's totally fine. However, I want it to be really easy to work with also. So I'll also be bringing my computer, which happens to be a Mac Air, the newer version. So they don't come with any of the HDMI stuff on the side, so I had to get an adapter. Anyway, moral of the story is, thank goodness for pre-event meetings. This is exactly why, because you want to find out all the information leading up to the event. So some of the things I ask also that aren't necessarily tech is, where do I park? Like, where is parking? Does it cost to park? I've been at places where the parking was so unclear. Even they directed me to the parking, it was the wrong parking lot. It was like a whole thing. Not that it was their fault, but this is why clarity is so critical. I also ask in the pre-event meeting, has anything changed about the audience? I spoke at a school a couple months ago, and something that had changed about the audience is they had a really tragic event happen at their school just a couple of weeks before. So they wanted to let me know that the students were very emotional and sensitive at this time. And they asked if I would actually just address that. So I was able to do that. I was super grateful that they told me that. I'm not saying every instance is going to have something like that, but you want to be sure that you understand the nuances of the audience that maybe have led up to this, because the reality is that that's kind of like reading the room before you get in the room, right? Reading the room before you get in the room. And you want to be sensitive and understanding of what they're going through, if it's something good that happened or something not so great that happened, right? So you want to make sure that you're mindful. So I always ask, are there any nuances of the audience that have changed? Has anything about the audience changed? So I ask about parking, tech, I ask about audience. I also ask about, what time is sound check? What time do you want me there? I like to show up at a minimum an hour before an event, sometimes 45 minutes, depending on where I'm going and what they have going on prior, just because I don't want to have any issues. I like to come and I like to help and assist and be there for them, get to know the audience before I get there, mingle with them. That creates so much rapport. It already engages in a lot of trust. There are certain times when you show up right before an event, you go on stage. So there are those, but then if that's the case, I like to stay afterwards a little bit and just kind of hang out with the audience and continue to build that trust. So the pre-event meeting is wildly important for a lot of reasons, wildly important. What else can I tell you? That pre-event meeting just was like really, really good. Also, something else I wanted to address is the opportunity, like the free gig questions that I get a lot. People ask sometimes, do you still do free gigs? I actually am working on a free gig right now. Everyone does their lower paid opportunities, their free opportunities. Everybody has those. Everybody has those moments where they just want to give back and they just want to serve. So one of the things, as y'all know, I speak to high school students, is my former high school. I will never charge them a dime to bring me in to speak. It is a service I want to give back to them because that's something that's really important to me. My husband also teaches there. I know a lot of the students and staff there. It's something that I want to do. So I'm actually in talks right now for May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, to come into my school and do an expert panel discussion. So I'm very honored and happy to do that. So that is something that I will always do for free. And that is something that a lot of people will do. They do their own passion projects and side projects and within speaking that they don't charge for, or they cut a very good deal for. That's okay. This is your speaking business. You can do with it whatever you want, right? Literally whatever you want. And I had a discussion earlier with someone about, well, lower paying opportunities and free opportunities. And they're like, well, I just don't want to have this confusion. What if these things talk to each other? And I've never had an instance where people were like, well, they didn't charge me anything. Like there was never that type of discussion. I think you just have to be able to have those open and honest conversations around budget with your decision makers. So just take everything one by one, as you go. So those are the two hot topics that were on my mind because of conversations I've had and things that I've been doing. So wild, right? Absolutely wild. And so brings me to the Mental Health Awareness Month. So I speak on overcoming and managing anxiety. So I'm going to challenge you to find, is there a month, a day, or a situation where it's wrapped around the topic or the audience that you serve that you could really lean into and prospect heavily within that space? So for example, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. There are some pretty large conferences that I'll be attending in May that I'm speaking at, but I like to stay local in May. I like to serve my community in May. So I work with local schools. I speak for free at my high school. I like to offer local schools an extremely low price point to bring me in to serve their students during May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. So something to consider and something to think about as you step into this space. There's a lot of different nuances. Again, you can do whatever you want. It's your speaking business. So I appreciate you guys listening today. Those are just some things that were on my mind and on my heart and I want to share with you. Go be great friends. Talk to you soon. Bye.